Hello everybody, I'm Ard, and welcome to another episode of Minecraft Enigmatica 2 Expert. Last episode, we made the creative tank finally, and as you can see, inside my extended crafting lab here, I've set up a whole bunch of barrels feeding into ingot formers from Nuclear Craft to create a whole bunch of singularities. In fact, all of them. I'm not entirely finished because I don't have all of the fluids for some of the stuff coming from my old farm for now, but it's not exactly critical. Now, last time I said I had the choice between the ingot former and like the Tinker.io smart conduit. I tried that. For a no power solution, that was actually fairly decent, but it was significantly slower than an ingot former with 16 upgrades. I could go higher, but I'm actually have power problems now. But as you can see, I am slowly getting singularities, although not as many as I need. So to fix that, we need to fix our power problem. We need to increase power. Except I was going to go do that for this episode, and then I realized I had another massive bottleneck I was completely unaware of. And we're going to cover that in another episode because I can't get completely up to speed in a single episode here. So, I think the only answer here is filler episode. Well, not really. It's still going to be progress because we still need to make some subcomponents for extreme crafting. Specifically, the ultimate stew. Although, if I have time, I'm also going to try to get the cosmic meatballs done. But the stew, looking at it, is mostly fairly simple. A lot of this stuff is already things we have made or can make in a cloche fairly easily, because I don't think I have melons or pumpkins directly feeding into my system right now. But I have, I don't know, 40-some cloches, I think, from my old hamster farm just sitting around. I can solve that problem. That said, there are a couple gotchas on this list, and they all come in at the end. And these are the rustic varieties, although this one, thankfully, can be substituted for Pam's Harvestcraft grapes. So our major gotcha here is finding which of these we don't have currently, which is probably like half of them, and adding those to our farm. And then dealing with the iron berries, which, newsflash, we're not going to deal with. Because very early on, I was using ironwood to craft my base with. So I have over 1,000 of these. If 1,000 of these doesn't get me through the end of this series, I guess we'll worry about it then. But that leaves the wild berry, which is actually kind of problematic, and let's go take a look at my farm as to why. So here we are back on my long neglected farm, and haven't really touched for the most part other than occasionally add another plant once in a while down here that I just randomly needed, and I also reorganized this to fix it, but none of this is important because what's important is that I added a new machine back here with the wild berry bushes. And this is the plant interactor from Industrial Foregoing, which was not what I had intended to do here at all. Because it turns out even in a pack this large, there's almost nothing that can interact with these bushes. This is one of the few. I suspect the mechanical user and the automated user probably can as well, but none of the actual plant harvesting machines that I tried at least could. So I just planted 25 of these on fertilized soil, and I'm just calling this good. This should get us enough berries to do what we need anyways. So I was gonna go set up automation to just make these on demand, and then I realized something. This makes 9 at a time, and we only need it for the Infinity Catalyst, which, well, it's also used for the Dimensional Builder from RF Tools. It's primarily only used to make the Infinity Ingot, which we're going to melt down and make into a liquid and make literally infinite at some point, as well as the Infinity Equipment and the Creative Flux Capacitor. So we don't need that many. I'm just going to toss in 64 of each of these and we're going to make a whole bunch of them. And then we're just going to call it good at that. So as you can see, we are missing quite a bit. It ends with grapes down here. It's actually a shapeless recipe. It doesn't have to be in order, but I have this so that I knew what I was missing. I went and I created the list of all the stuff that I'm missing from here. And then I went and gathered all the seeds from our buddy back here. None of them are all that hard to make. It's all just pretty standard crops. So let me go to my farm and we'll see how this goes. So now I've got everything pumping into the drawers back here slowly. Could do it faster, but why bother? It's just time and I've got plenty of that. That's how I've been playing this whole series. I figure we should talk about the cosmic meatballs, which is the same sort of thing, but with all of the meat. Which means we need to go gather up a bunch of these animals and then kill them en masse. On the upside, we can do this with the mob duplicator pretty easily. So let's see how many of these are easy and how many of these are going to be really, 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 really hard. Now to be clear, obviously all the vanilla ones are going to be easy because those are pretty much easy to find, and or we can buy them from our friendly marketer right here in the form of a spawn egg. These prime ones, however, require a happy, fully mature version of the animal, which means you need to feed and water them because they're the Animania varieties. So I think if we get them into that state and then bottle them up and put them in the mob duplicator, they'll come out that way. All of the clones will, as long as you have the make exact duplicate thing checked. I think that's a thing in this version at least. Oh, and I might be misremembering, or that might have been Ender IO, because I do not see a checkbox for that here anymore. Ooh. Well, we can test this pretty easily since we have cows inside our animal farm. So I guess let me go grab one of those and let's test that part out, huh? Alright, the good news is that this absolutely does work. Here I was all paranoid for a minute, so now we just need to kill enough of these to make a stack, and then find all of the other critters we need to do the same thing to. Thankfully, this should only take a couple of minutes. Well, the killing the mobs part, finding everything we need, that could be awful. Alright, so I let all my plants go for a bit. I even set up a closure over back here to get the pumpkins going because I was impatient with the rate that they were growing in the main farm. And with that, we now have the ultimate stew done. Oh, so very much of it, and that all goes into our storage for now. So going back to the Cosmic Meatball, I had to set up this ugly platform temporarily. Because while the Cosmic Meatball has a whole bunch of things we need to get from Animania, we've got to find all the proper animals for this, it also has these three things at the end, which are all Pam's Harvestcraft drops, which come from the ground traps right here. So I've got these feeding into a crate here under the bottom. That's just slowly collecting all of them, and this actually moves pretty slowly, honestly. This does take a while to do. So honestly, I may not get to a full stack of 64 before I'm done with this today, but it's at least going to get it started, and we can at least get some of the items made and get it ready to go. And this can keep going for a while until I, get enough and then tear it down, because it's an ugly, ugly eyesore. Alright, so I went and found all of the Animania critters that I needed. It took me probably a little over an hour. It actually wasn't too bad. I always read about how hard the frogs were to find, and, turns out I found all 3 frogs in a pretty quick amount of time. The hardest thing was actually one of the chickens and the sheep to get the prime meats from them. But I guess it's time to be a complete monster. I'm not the monster, you're the monster. Why are you even watching this? How can you stand watching me just kill all of these innocent creatures over and over? PETA would like to have words with both of us, I think. Alright, and with that bout of needless ultraviolence done, we finally have the Cosmic Meatballs finished. Except for the missing parts here, but we now have enough to get started at least. So while I wait for the other parts to come in from my ground trap farm, I think it's time to call it a day. This at least gets us on our way for more bragging rights crafting that we will not be doing in the next episode because we're still not ready for materials yet. But we'll find something interesting to do. Anyhow, if you found this episode interesting and entertaining, please consider leaving a like or subscribing if you're new. As always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.